Greenland might be history's boldest case of false advertising. The Vikings named it Greenland to attract settlers, yet nearly 4/5 of it sits buried under solid ice. Imagine calling a scorching desert Crystal Lake. The water's there, sure, but frozen deep beneath the surface. For more than 5,000 years, the Inuit have lived and thrived in this harsh environment, well before many cultures had even developed writing. While modern researchers argue over what could lie under Greenland's thick ice sheet, the Inuit already know: ancient civilization buried below. That's old news to them. It's like tipping off your friends about a great hidden diner, but no one listens until a famous critic finally discovers it. Only here, it's not food. It's a forgotten culture, frozen for centuries, finally catching the world's attention. Picture a lost civilization sealed beneath Greenland's massive ice sheet, hidden for thousands of years. This isn't a handful of relics. It's an entire world frozen in time, perfectly preserved like a message carved into ice. While scientists rush to unlock its mysteries, the ice has been quietly protecting them like a vault of ancient history. To understand how immense this frozen mass is, think about this. If Greenland's ice fully melted, sea levels would rise by 24 feet. That would swallow entire coastal cities and reshape continents. But what's more fascinating isn't what rising seas could do. It's what lies below, trapped beneath ice thicker than mountain peaks. Greenland's ice isn't just a frozen block. It's a layered record of time. Some sections are over 100,000 years old, dating back to when early humans were just learning to shape tools. Deep beneath it, hidden ruins and lost knowledge remain, reminding us that history doesn't only survive in books, it sleeps beneath the ice. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. When you subscribe, YouTube is more likely to recommend this kind of content to others who enjoy it too. Just hit that red subscribe button below. It's quick, it's free, and it really helps the channel grow. Back in 2019, scientists made a shocking find beneath Greenland's ice sheet, one that likely made a few coffee mugs hit the floor. Using high-tech radar, similar to an X-ray but for ice, they revealed a massive system of canyons and valleys hidden under the surface. These aren't small cracks either. Some are actually larger than the Grand Canyon. These underground spaces aren't just hollow gaps. For thousands of years, the thick ice has worked like nature's deep freezer, preserving whatever's below. Picture it like the ancient equivalent of that mystery container buried in the back of your freezer. Except instead of leftovers, Greenland's been holding something priceless. What's more surprising is that the base of the ice sheet can be warmer than the surface, like a toasty basement under a frozen house. That warmth, combined with the insulating ice, creates perfect conditions for preserving ancient tools, artifacts, and even the traces of long-lost civilizations, all locked in a frozen archive, waiting to be explored. Scientists recently found ancient plant remains deep within Greenland's ice, plants that could only survive in a warmer environment. This points to a time when Greenland looked more like present-day Minnesota than a frozen expanse. Some scientists even joke that the Vikings weren't completely off with the name Greenland. They just arrived several thousand years too late to see the green. But the surprises don't stop there. New radar scans show odd shapes hidden beneath the ice, patterns that seem less like natural rock and more like ruins or man-made structures. It's as if nature tucked away an entire civilization, buried it like a secret, and forgot where it was hidden. While experts argue over these findings, the Inuit remain calm. Stories of what's buried below have been passed down for generations. It's almost like they've been quietly waiting, thinking, should we tell them, or let them figure it out? In 1965, scientists came to Greenland, armed with new radar tools, eager to scan beneath the ice for hidden secrets. But to the Inuit elders watching, it probably felt like watching someone solve a puzzle with gadgets when the answer had already been passed down for generations. For the Inuit, Greenland's past wasn't a mystery. It was well known and carefully preserved like a family heirloom. Inuit oral traditions aren't just legends. They're detailed, accurate records passed from one generation to the next, describing Greenland's changing climate and ancient societies that once flourished here. Their stories spoke of stone dwellings and thriving settlements before the ice crept in. Descriptions with the precision of a historian's journal. For decades, these stories were brushed aside as folklore. But modern radar has revealed the unmistakable outlines of buried structures, aligning perfectly with Inuit accounts. While scientists searched for proof, the Inuit had already drawn the map. This shows that not all history lives in books or under microscopes. Some of the richest knowledge rests in the stories of those who've lived with the land, quietly listening as it tells its tale. For centuries, Inuit elders told of forests once growing where thick ice now stretches. Scientists, ever cautious, brushed it off as myth, until ancient tree remains were found buried beneath Greenland's icy surface. It was the ultimate long game, we told you so, with the Inuit calmly watching as science finally caught up. Their stories aren't just memories. They're detailed records of climate shifts, changing landscapes, and animal behavior. Long before weather satellites and data models, the Inuit tracked wind directions, ice patterns, and seasonal migration paths with precision. It was their own version of the Weather Channel, minus the hit-or-miss forecasts. More than folklore, their oral tradition mixes survival know-how with geographic memory. These tales include exact locations of settlements, how the terrain changed, and where ancient societies once lived. Now, with radar and satellite images in hand, scientists are discovering that these verbal maps are astonishingly accurate, like a time-tested GPS, powered by generations of lived experience. While the Inuit passed down their history through spoken word, the ice had its own archive system, quietly preserving the past under frozen layers. As parts of Greenland slowly begin to melt, what's emerging isn't junk or debris, but an untouched vault of history. It's like the ultimate deep freezer, only instead of storing old meals, it's kept pieces of a civilization intact for thousands of years. In 2017, as the ice began to retreat, scientists uncovered an archaeological windfall. Among the first finds were stone tools so sharp and intact they looked like they came straight off the workbench. The freezing conditions had sealed them up like nature's vacuum pack. Need a stone scraper that's still usable? Found one. Bone needles capable of stitching a hide coat, still intact. Wooden tool handles with visible grain lines. Right there. The preservation was so flawless that one archaeologist joked about setting up a Stone Age hardware shop. And honestly, with tools in this shape, that might not be far off. Then in 2019, scientists came across something completely unexpected. What first appeared to be a frozen scrap turned out to be ancient leather, so well preserved that you could still see the stitching. This wasn't just a weathered relic. It was a piece of craftsmanship, offering a rare look into the skills of a forgotten civilization. Picture finding something sewn by your many times great-grandmother, only to realize her stitching puts yours to shame. That's the level of precision preserved here. The threads were still in place, as if the maker had stepped away just moments ago, not thousands of years earlier. And the surprises didn't stop there. Buried beneath the ice were traces of buildings, solid, stone-built structures with carefully laid foundations. These weren't quick shelters. They were thoughtfully designed and strong enough that even today's builders would be impressed. These finds aren't just adding to history. They're rewriting it. At one site, archaeologists came across something they hadn't expected. An ancient multi-room building. Imagine an early version of an apartment, minus rent payments and midnight noise complaints. This wasn't a simple shelter. It was a structured space built for community living. Carbon testing revealed it's over 4,000 years old, older than the pyramids or Stonehenge. Definitely older than anything hiding in your fridge. Thanks to the ice's preservation powers, even food traces survived. Researchers could analyze meals from thousands of years ago. And no, there were no greasy takeout boxes. What they did find was evidence of tools made from imported materials, like copper sourced from hundreds of miles away. Clearly, these ancient people weren't cut off. They traded, they traveled, and they were connected well beyond Greenland's borders. Digging deeper, signs of reconstruction surfaced. These homes weren't one-time setups. They were built, modified, and rebuilt. This wasn't seasonal camping. This was long-term living. Their architecture reveals precision and purpose. Compared to this, assembling modern furniture looks like a weekend hobby. Every new discovery points to the same conclusion. This was a smart, skilled, and settled civilization. As archaeologists continue to dig, one thing becomes more obvious. The old Inuit tales weren't myths, they were memory. Each new find confirms details passed down for generations. The question now isn't whether they were right, but who exactly built these settlements, long before the Vikings ever showed up. In 2007, a routine dig turned into a headline-making breakthrough. What began as standard excavation work ended with jaw-dropping evidence of a sophisticated civilization. It wasn't just random objects scattered in the soil. It was organized, built, and thriving centuries before Norse explorers even sailed near Greenland. To give some context, the Vikings arrived around 985 AD, thinking they were the pioneers of this rugged land. They mostly overlooked the Inuit and assumed they were the first civilized visitors. But radiocarbon testing tells a different story. Some settlements go back to around 2400 BC, about the same time ancient Egyptians were still designing the Great Pyramids. These findings don't just tweak our understanding of Greenland's past, they flip the timeline entirely. The deeper we look, the further back the story stretches, and it's forcing historians to re-examine everything they thought they knew. The deeper the excavation goes, the clearer the picture becomes. These ancient Greenland inhabitants weren't just getting by. They were part of a well-developed society. Copper tools found at the sites, traced back to sources hundreds of miles away, point to vast trade routes. These weren't isolated people. They were connected, mobile, and thriving. Their toolmaking was next level. Stone, animal bone, even wood were shaped with such precision that modern replicas struggle to match the originals in quality. These weren't basic nomads. They were expert crafters and engineers with techniques polished through generations. DNA from remains adds another twist. Instead of a single population, results show a blend of Arctic cultures. What looked like a remote outpost turns out to have been a cultural crossroads, diverse, interactive, and globally minded long before the term existed. Some genetic links even trace back to groups previously thought to have never made it this far north. And then there's the architecture. While Viking homes stood above ground, these builders worked with the landscape, partially sinking structures for insulation and warmth. It's a prehistoric version of energy-efficient housing. Their use of natural heating is so clever. Some archaeologists joke they'd have no problem getting a modern-day patent. These people weren't following trends. They were setting them, thousands of years ahead of their time. Not all discoveries in Greenland's ice were tools or buildings. Some revealed the heart of an ancient culture. Among the most surprising finds was music. Archaeologists uncovered bird bone flutes and drums made from animal hides. These people weren't just surviving. They were celebrating, creating, and expressing under the glow of the northern lights. One archaeologist joked that their jam sessions probably outshined anything in today's Arctic research bases. Even more eye-opening were their engineering skills. Detailed studies of tools showed methods that wouldn't reappear until the Industrial Revolution. They knew how to treat and temper materials to resist cracking in freezing temperatures, something modern science only nailed down in the last century. It's like discovering your ancestors had a version of wireless tech, but never bragged about it. Each excavation reveals another piece of a massive puzzle buried beneath thousands of years of ice. What's becoming clear is that these weren't just people hardened by the cold. They were designers, builders, artists, and thinkers. In one of Earth's harshest climates, they didn't just survive. They built something enduring, something advanced, and something the modern world is only beginning to understand. What puzzles researchers most isn't how this ancient society lived. It's why they left. With solid homes, working trade networks, and innovations well ahead of their time. Why would such a community vanish without a dramatic collapse? Around 1400 BC, something changed. But this wasn't a chaotic disappearance. It was deliberate, organized, and surprisingly calm. Clues point to the climate. Ice core data shows that average temperatures dropped by about 7 degrees Fahrenheit over just a few decades. That shift might seem mild today. But for a people relying on seasonal hunting and wild food, it was a game changer. The land became colder, less predictable, and harder to survive on year-round. What stands out is how they left. Archaeologists found no mess, no half-eaten food, no rushed exits. Tools were gone, valuables packed, buildings sealed. It's as if they closed the door behind them, intending to return someday. Instead of crumbling under pressure, they planned their departure with the same care they showed in everything else, from crafting tools to insulating homes. They didn't vanish. They'd moved on, leaving behind not chaos, but a silent record of intelligence and resilience. While colder temperatures were a major factor in this civilization's departure, they weren't the only one. Shifting food sources may have sealed the decision. Studies of animal remains show a sharp decline in large mammals once common in the region. As the land cooled, herds moved south. For a culture rooted in hunting, that was like your favorite diner closing and relocating. You either follow or go hungry. Then came the volcanoes. Ice core samples from the same period show ash from 3 major eruptions, all within a single century. These weren't small events. They would have darkened skies, lowered global temperatures, and thrown off seasonal rhythms. For people already grappling with environmental stress, it was a triple blow that pushed survival to the edge. Even the ground turned against them. Soil analysis reveals that the cooling trend altered the Earth's chemistry. Plants that once fed families began to fail. Crops struggled. Gardens froze, and generations of agricultural know-how suddenly didn't apply. Imagine flipping through recipes that call for bananas and mangoes, while standing in a snowstorm, faced with vanishing wildlife, volcanic winters, and soil that no longer grew food. They likely had little choice. Instead of fighting a losing battle, they left. Not in panic, but with purpose. They carried their skills, traditions, and knowledge to a new place, proving once again that their strength wasn't just in staying. It was knowing when it was time to go. These people didn't disappear. They relocated. Traces of their trade goods have surfaced at archaeological sites far to the south, dated to the years following their departure from Greenland. Instead of collapsing, they carried their knowledge, tools, and traditions into new regions. Think of them as ancient nomads, not chasing Wi-Fi, but searching for land that could still grow crops and support life. As more ice melts and long-hidden sites emerge, one question grows louder. What can we learn from them? These were people who didn't wait for crisis to break them. They recognized the warning signs, adapted, and moved forward with purpose. Since 2019, Greenland's ice has been vanishing at record speed, melting faster than a popsicle in mid-July. While climate scientists see danger, archaeologists see windows opening. Every retreating glacier reveals more of the past: homes, tools, music, and architecture, all frozen in time. Each layer peeled back tells another part of a story still unfolding, challenging us to ask not just what happened, but what lessons still lie buried, waiting to guide us today. 15 new sites. That's how many potential settlements were flagged in 2023 alone, each hidden under layers of Greenland's retreating ice. What used to take teams months of careful digging is now done in days, thanks to drone-mounted ground-penetrating radar. Archaeologists are scanning entire valleys with ease, and the results are piling up faster than ever. One scientist joked that in a single week, they'd uncovered more artifacts than Indiana Jones managed in all his cinematic adventures. minus the snakes and collapsing temples. But this isn't just a numbers game. Every unearthed tool, structure, or scrap of material pushes our understanding forward. These early settlers weren't improvising. They were innovating. Their homes, for example, were models of energy efficiency. In today's terms, they used only half the heating fuel modern Arctic research stations require. No blueprints, no digital models, just a deep-rooted understanding of their environment and how to build with it. They lived smart long before sustainability became a buzzword. As the ice peels back and the past reemerges, the message becomes clear. We're not just uncovering ancient life. We're unearthing timeless solutions. Time is running out. Greenland's melting ice is no longer just revealing the past. It's destroying it. Artifacts that remained untouched for 4,000 years are now being exposed, only to decay within weeks of hitting open air. Imagine nature dropping history's secrets in front of us, then hitting the self-destruct button. This isn't fiction. It's happening in real time. But what came next stunned even the experts. DNA taken from newly uncovered human remains revealed something remarkable: genetic links to people living in the Arctic today. These weren't ghosts of a lost civilization. They were ancestors whose bloodlines may still run through local communities. The idea that descendants of these ancient builders could be walking among us today makes history feel less like a story and more like a mirror. And archaeology isn't just reacting, it's evolving. Next spring, a project powered by artificial intelligence will launch, aiming to predict where more settlements might be buried. Using satellite data and patterns from known sites, researchers hope to locate the next breakthrough before nature wipes it away. Ancient builders once followed stars to chart their path. Now we follow satellites to retrace theirs. Each artifact, each structure, each strand of DNA is part of a frozen legacy that refuses to be forgotten. The legends once passed down in whispers are now backed by science, and what lies beneath us might just be the missing chapter in our shared human story. And hey, I've noticed some of you are watching without subscribing. If you're into this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. It helps YouTube show you more of it, and it lets me know you're enjoying the ride. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.